guys, we're back with, okay, maybe this is my favorite lesson. I don't know. I keep saying that. I think they're all my favorite. We're going to be continuing our work with circles in the coordinate plane, but now that we know how to complete the square, we're going to be able to talk about what's called general conic form of a circle and how we can rewrite it into the form that we like, which is called standard form. So, quick refresher from standard form of a circle. The standard form of a circle's equation is x minus h quantity squared, looks a lot like Pythagorean theorem, plus y minus k quantity squared, and it equals the radius squared. So your center of your circle is located at, remember, hk. The radius length is r. So the first thing they want me to do is just review. Put all this information back into the standard form of a circle. So I'm going to write kind of the skeleton of it, and then we'll simplify it as needed. So, minus, there we go. So we got h of negative 3, so that's going to become a plus 3. That was silly. Let me fix that. And then k of 15. Your radius length is 4. And the reason I like to place this into the skeleton is because kids get really confused with what to do with the r. Like, sometimes you just randomly square root it, even though you're supposed to square it going into the formula. So I like using the formula this way. So nothing really simplifies here besides I can write it a little prettier. So x plus 3 squared plus y minus 15 squared. And then this does simplify to a 16 on the end of the equation. So there is your standard form. The only thing that gets kind of weird is if one of your pieces of your circle is a 0, one of your pieces of the center. So again, into the formula. I'm going to write down the skeleton. It helps me. So h is a 5. K this time is a 0. And then r is a 6. So a couple of things I can do to make it prettier. X minus 5 squared is fine. Instead of writing y minus 0 squared, let's just write y squared. If you wrote y minus 0 squared, you're not wrong. It's just very weird. And then this is a 36 down here. So that should feel like a review. That's standard form of a circle. So now let's talk about when it's not in standard form. This guy here, this is called Generalconic Form. And it's not helpful because you can't see anything. So what we're going to do is we're going to use completing the square. We're going to do it twice because those factors of x minus h squared and y minus k squared, those are two different like perfect square binomials that we can achieve through completing the square. I'm going to use a couple of colors, of course, and I'm going to rewrite this so that way everything's kind of in the same color and also together on the paper. So I'm going to rewrite it as x squared plus 4x plus blank. I'm going to put down a plus sign. I'm going to switch colors. I'm going to use the green for the y's. Y squared plus 6y, and then he's going to have his own blank. And then I bet if we were in class, someone would shout out, add the 3 over. You're right. This 3 is just kind of like in the way. So I'm going to add it over to the other side of the equation. I should write down that. We added 3 right here. But here's the problem. We have really messed up the balance of our equation. We added a blue blank and a green blank to the left side. So since I'm allowed to add things around on this equation, I'm going to do the same to the right side. I'm going to add the blue blank again and the green blank again. And that's how I'm going to keep it balanced. So now you're like, well, now what goes in the blank? You're going to use that same formula for how we find that last term. We called it finding the C. And what you do is you take the middle term and you cut it in half, and then you square it. So here's your middle term for the blue stuff, and here's your middle term for the green stuff, all right? So 4 cut in half is 2, and then 2 squared is a 4. I think it would probably help everybody if they wrote that down. If they wrote 4 cut in half squared. We're going to do the same thing with the 6. You're going to take 6, you're going to cut it in half, and then you're going to square it. I know you're going to want to do that in your head when it comes to practice, but your notes, you need to write it down, right? So 3 squared is a 9, so this is a 9, and so is this. So why do we do that? Because it looks messier. Well, because you added those blanks in, you're now able to factor this part and this part. So this is kind of cool. This blue trinomial, if we use that same factoring pattern that we used in completing the square, it becomes x, and then half of this would be plus 2. So x plus 2 quantity squared. And then for the green stuff, the only difference is now it's a y. So this becomes y, this cut in half was plus 3 quantity squared. And then on the right side of the equation, you just got to add some stuff up. So that's, I should be able to add 16. So now this is kind of cool, I guess. You can tell me where the center is located. And you can tell me the length of the radius. So your center is located at the ordered pair. Be careful with your negatives. There's built-in negatives, right? -2 and -3. And the radius length here, remember this is r squared. So the radius is a length of 4. I don't know how excited you are to be doing this lesson right now. I know, you guys are like, that's a lot of work. The good news is that's kind of all the work is. That's as hard as it gets. So yes, it's relying on your knowledge of completing the square. It's assuming that you remember how to do it. All right, so same idea. We're going to collect all of our x's together. And we're going to leave a blank so we can complete the square. We're going to do the same thing with the y's. We'll leave a blank there. This 336 needs to take a hike. It's basically in my way. So I'm going to subtract 336 over here. I think you know me well enough by now, guys. Lots of colors. Lots and lots and lots of colors. It's good. You want to use colors in math. All right, here we go. So remember, to find this blank, you're going to take half of this middle number, cut it in half, and then square it. So for us, that would be 18 cut in half and then squared. So 9 squared is 81. And then over here, you're going to take -32 cut in half and squared. I like to write this part down because besides it being my notes, it's going to help me with my factoring step on the next line. So -16 squared is 256. I feel like I did something wrong there. Oh, well, it'll work out when I figure it out. I was just talking a big game. I should probably double check. Plus, I'm going to need some calculator assistance in a minute rather. Nailed it. Okay, 256 plus 81 on the right side there, wasn't it a -336? 1. All right, here we go. Remember, that's a 1. All right, here goes. We're going to be factoring this. Factors into, remember half of this was +9. So x plus 9 squared. Oh, I'm ruining my colors again. I did this in black. And then in the green, just be careful that you're using a y. I have a lot of kids who put x's in both spots, which I understand why, but it's y. All right, so y, and then this cut in half was a -16. And then my calculator just told me all of this added together was a 1. It's nice. And we're there. This is standard form. So your center of your circle is located at -9, +16. Opposites, built-in negatives on both. And then the square root of 1 is still going to be a 1, so the radius is a 1. I think I'm supposed to do that in red. Hold on. There we go. And there's our answer. So 3 parts to that answer technically. Can you write it in standard form by completing the square? And then after that, can you identify the center and the radius? Hopefully the answer to all that is yes. And I think I'm going to do one more. I'm going to skip 5 for the video. I'm going to do it on the notes. So if you need to see me working out number 5, that's fine. Just go look at the slides that I provided to you. But let's look at number 6 for sure. And that, I think, is the last one. So something a little strange happens in number 6. We have our x's that we're going to group together. And then we have our y's, and this is where it's a little weird. There's no other y's in the problem. So maybe you're thinking to yourself, like, what does that mean for blanks? It means you don't have to add anything because the middle term for y would have been a 0, and 0 squared is 0, so I'm just not going to do anything with the y's. However, I am going to add that 120 over. There's one blank. That blue one is the one that we need to balance out. So let's do that. -2 cut in half and then squared, because we're completing the square on the blue part here. So that's a 1. Oh man, this came out beautiful. So this guy right here, if I did complete a square, now when I factor it, it becomes x minus 1 squared. I don't have to do anything with the y's. You can write it as y minus 0 squared, or you can just leave it as y squared. And then this is 121 right here. So if there's less terms, that means less work, and that's exciting. So we're in standard form. Now I just have to identify the center and the radius. So the center is located at, remember, built-in negative here, so 1, 0. And then this, remember, is the r squared term, so the square root of this is an 11 for the radius. There we go. All right. Lesson's done for the video. I want to keep this one kind of short. I'm going to go ahead and finish up number 5, but I think you're ready to hit this up and get some practice. If the issue is the completing the square part, that's a previous lesson. You need to go back and review just that concept in isolation. If the issue is, like, once I have it in standard form, I don't know where the center and radius is, again, that's a previous lesson. So go back and review. That's a really short lesson, by the way, so maybe go back and watch that lesson. And of course, practice, practice, practice. Good luck.